Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Justin, and this is Horsepower Obsessed. All right, so I've been asked about radar detectors multiple times in real life as well as on my channel here. The biggest question I get is, do I need one? Well, the answer to that is yes and no. For me, I drive the car mostly on the highway, and I personally would not go on the highway at all without a radar detector. If you're someone who drives mostly in city or in town driving, then no, you probably don't need one. They're next to useless in tight city driving quarters. So if you're someone who frequents the highway though, like I said, I wouldn't leave without it. My radar detector has paid for itself countless times in my highway driving. And it wasn't until a situation maybe 3 years ago that really made me realize how badly I need this, because I had gone with and without radar detectors. I've kind of gone back and forth because I wasn't really sure if it was worth it either. But about 3 years ago, I had a situation pop up that really solidified it for me, really let me know I need to have a radar detector on highway driving. Now, this one I have here is an Escort Passport Max 2. When I bought this, I paid $600 for it. And you may be thinking, holy crap, that's a lot of money for a radar detector. But in reality, the good ones are pretty expensive. I've seen a lot of people buy the Cobra detectors at their local Walmart for like 60 bucks. And then they ask, what makes mine better than theirs? Simply put, the detection is terrible, the false positives are terrible, and overall, you're probably better off not having one at all. A good radar detector is just like anything else in life. If you want a good one, it's going to cost more than what you can get one at Walmart for. The biggest differences you're going to get with a more expensive radar detector are things like GPS, which allows you to mark areas that you know will trigger a detector to go off. Better band filtering, which basically means a lot less false positives. Better detection, obviously means more accurate and able to detect frequencies further away, giving you more of an alert, more time to slow down. Bluetooth, which in the case of my Escort Passport, will actually allow you to connect your phone to the device to change settings, as well as have a map that has user input on it. So a lot like Waze, people will connect their phones to their radar detectors, and anytime they report a police officer on the phone, it will alert you on the radar detector as well. And the best part is more frequent manufacturer updates, which of course is going to improve all of this stuff. My Passport 2, it has a lot of features that a lot of the higher end GPS or radar detectors do have nowadays. And a couple of them just off the top of my head that really set this apart from your typical Walmart Cobra system is going to be things like better blind spot detection. So blind spot detection in cars nowadays will set off radar detectors, most of them. For a while there, Chevy was a big one, Honda's a big one. Those two by themselves, if you drive past that car with a radar detector, odds are good it's going to set your radar detector off. Now, recent updates for my Escort Passport here has made it so those don't affect it anymore. So I can drive past Chevys and Hondas and it doesn't go off. Now, even with that being said, if you're driving around town, which like I said, these aren't really that great for city driving, but in my case, I have mine hardwired to the rearview mirror, so I don't want to turn it on and off all the time. I can have a couple different things to help with false positives, and the first one's going to be auto mode. So you have the choice of auto, city, and highway mode. So basically, city's going to reduce the sensitivity down, highway's going to put it all the way up to the top, whereas auto keeps it low until you go over 35 miles an hour, then it starts raising it up, and after 50 miles an hour it's all the way up to highway sensitivity. So if you're, odds are good you're not doing 50 miles an hour around a city or a town, so it's never going to hit maximum sensitivity. It's not going to pick up auto doors and things like that and thinking that that's radar. So I have that set basically on auto, and I also have another option where you can have the detector, and this is adjustable at any speed you want. The detector will not go off fully when it detects a band of radar unless you're at a certain speed. So I have mine set for 30 miles an hour. If I'm under 30 miles an hour, and this detects a radar signal, it will just beep once quietly to let me know it picked something up, but it's not beeping loud enough to really alert me, because I'm not going fast enough to break any laws anyway. Well, here in Pennsylvania, the police officers, really only state troopers are allowed to use radar. That means if you're passing a local cop, odds are good he's not going to get your speed with radar. He may use VASCAR or something similar, which radar detectors do not pick up. So in my experience here in PA, like I said, a lot of my highway driving, it's a state trooper, and they only use one of two radar bands, and that's a K band or KA band. So the radar detector itself has a couple different bands it will pick up, K, KA, X band, and a couple other ones. But for me, I only need to worry about K and KA. So I go into the settings and turn off everything else, because a lot of auto doors at places like Walmart will trigger X band. And since I don't even need X band in PA, I just turn it off. So there's no worry of that. That's another thing you're not really going to have the option of with a Cobra or a cheaper radar detector. There is a science to using a radar detector. It's not just hook it up, throw it on your dashboard, and go. There's a lot of things you need to keep in mind. They are not police officer detectors. So if you drive by a cop and it doesn't go off, it's not because it wasn't able to detect that police officer, it's because he likely wasn't even shooting radar at the time. Now, with all that being said, the radar detector itself is useless if there's no one in front of you. So if you're driving on a highway at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and there's no one in front of you and you're speeding around, by the time that radar detector goes off, it's because the police officer just got your speed. So on the forums that I use, there's a term that they use called rabbit. You want to have a rabbit in front of you whenever you're driving, and that's just another car. So at least one other car in front of you at any given time. That way, by the time that goes off, it's because the officer just got his speed, and that gives you time to slow down and adjust accordingly. So like I said, it's not just hook it up and go and it's going to save your butt every time. There are things you have to do. There's certain ways you have to follow this thing and know what it means when it beeps to understand fully what's going on. With this radar detector, this is not the best and greatest you can get nowadays. This was the best about 3 years ago. That's whenever I got it. Now you can get the Passport Max 360, I believe, is their current offering. The Uniden radar detectors are really good too. Basically, any of the radar detectors that have built-in GPS and get regular updates from the manufacturer, you can't go wrong with those. But in my opinion, I would get at this point either Escort, Uniden, or if you're willing to deal with some false positives, the Valentine radar detector is really good as well. But any of these radar detectors, any of the real good ones, they do detect laser, but they are really, really bad at it. And it doesn't matter what radar detector you get, there's not really a good laser detector out there. So if you live in an area where they regularly scan with laser for your speed and everything, this isn't really going to help you. I've only heard this go off for laser one time, and it was actually because my cell phone was interfering with it, because here in PA, they don't use laser either. It's literally just K or KA band. So I don't have to worry about that here, but if I did, I probably wouldn't even worry about having a radar detector, because it's not going to help. A real quick story, about 3 years ago is when I first got this radar detector. I took it, put it in the car, and headed on to a trip down to my parents' house, which is a lot of highway driving. And about halfway through the trip, this started beeping, started going off. And I had just read a bunch of things online telling me what bands to watch for and which ones were probably false positives. And this was going off, and I was certain it was a false positive. And it went off for probably half a mile, maybe 3/4 of a mile. And I just kept muting it. And then it was right after that, I watch as I'm going past, and I see up on the hill there was a cop. And sure enough, he pulled me over and gave me a ticket. And immediately, that was right there is when I realized, first off, you're not smarter than a radar detector. And second, I absolutely need one, because it would have absolutely saved me that day had I paid attention to it. Well, I've made that same trip multiple times, and one particular day was Memorial Day. I made it with my wife, and we were driving down there, and this thing literally 5 times in one trip, and it's about an hour and 20-minute trip, but 5 times there was cops on that road, and 5 times that went off and let me know that they were up there. I told my wife that day, I said, this thing literally just paid for itself in one trip. So I've seen it work. I've seen it make me look like an idiot. It definitely is something that I need for highway driving. Now, this is the Escort Passport Max app, like I was saying. This is pretty cool because you can actually adjust a lot of the settings in here right from your phone. So you would just go to settings here, and then under radar detector settings, and these are all the settings it's going to allow you to adjust. So sensitivity, brightness, what the scanning bar looks like, what the meter mode is, which is basically going to show you like certain radar bands and everything. I mean, there's a lot of settings in here, and this is where you can go into and, like I said, turn off all the radar bands you're not going to use. So I have, obviously you can see laser turned off, pop turned off, X band, and TSR, which is basically I've noticed that actually reduces alert time for me. It's supposed to help with speed cameras, but again, we don't have those here in PA. So if you watch though, my radar detector right there, and I can come on here to display color, and I have it set to red right now, but as soon as I hit blue, if I hit blue right now, and then right there, it's blue that quick, and I'll hit red right now. It's pretty convenient. It's a nice thing to be able to do right from your phone. I hope this video helped you a little bit with information on radar detectors and why some of them are good and some aren't. If you have any further questions though, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram, through email, or even on the comments section here on YouTube. I'd absolutely appreciate hearing from you, and I have no problem giving you guys my input and my helping you any way I can. All right guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Like I said, this was a question that I've received a lot in my personal life as well as on YouTube. So if you have any further questions about it, go ahead and shoot them in the comments section down below. Give me a big thumbs up if you liked the video. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I'd love to have you as part of the Horsepower Obsessed community. And as always, guys, I'll catch you in the next upload.